Welcome back, all my 40K fanatics out there. I'm DJ here with Tim's Nation, and today I want to talk to you about one of Lane's favorite Necrons, and that is this little guy right here, the Psychomancer. Psychomancer is a crypt tech model, so it's usually a character that could technically join the Warriors or the Immortals, in addition to a Overlord, such model being attached to them as well. But he would take up your crypt tech spot. And he does not really provide anything for the squad. Chronomancer, Plasmancer, Orcan, and the Technomancer all provide a buff to the unit that they're leading or is attached to as a leader. These guys don't. So, why do I love this guy so much? Why does Lane hate this guy so much? Why do I feel, and I'm gonna throw it as a hot take out there, any competitive list should have one Psychomancer in it. Now, this is my hot take, and you feel free to comment back. We'll have some fun with it, because so far, everyone I've had conversations with in the Necron community, we've had a great time with conversations. So I feel comfortable saying that Psychomancer should be in every list, at least one in some capacity. And here's why. Psychomancer can break games out entirely. Now, mind you, his stats, he's a toughness 4, he's 4 wounds, 4 up save, no invuln. He's squishy. His shooting attack, while it does 3 damage, is only 1 shot. And melee might be 2 attacks, might be 1 attacks. It doesn't really matter that much because, once again, he's hitting on 4s throughout that. There's no damage output from him. But what value he brings is a super critical, very strong ability, and that is his battle shock test that he makes people take. So the Psychomancer's ability is at the beginning of any one of your phases. So the beginning of the command, movement, shooting, charge, fight, you can use this ability. You target a unit within 18 inches. Let me say that again. A unit within 18 inches. Not visible, not out of engagement range, any unit within 18 inches. You target that unit immediately takes a battle shock test at -1. If you're within 6 inches, which comes up more than you think, now you get -2 to that unit. So let's talk about these phases here real quick and what this means. So yes, you can only use it on your turn, which means that when you go around the circle and it goes to your opponent's command phase where they're going to score primary, that unit's going to be unbattle shocked unless it has to take a battle shock test for other reasons and then fails. But if it's above 50%, they're going to be unbattle shocked. Okay, so where did the value come in on our side? Beginning of the command phase. Primaries are scored at the end of your command phase. The Psychomancer can score you points all left, right, all the time. By having that 18-inch range, he can target a unit that's on an objective that may be on a objective that you have as well. And you target that unit and make them take a battle shock test at -1. The odds are pretty decent that they may fail that, especially some mid units. Like when you get up to the really super tough, like Custodes and these super elite small units, one, you can sometimes out-OC them, so it's not as crucial. But two, those are the one-offs in there. Other units that have OC2 that are very basic coming across the line and holding an objective are things you can zap, and that -1 might be just enough to put the odds in your favor, and then they fail. So now they fail at the beginning of your command phase. When you go to the end of the command phase, you now control the objective because they're OC0, and boom. 15 points on primary, 4 extra points on primary, whatever it may be, extra points on primary that your opponent can't take away from you. Beautiful. It's great. It's such a powerful thing to stack right there. On top of that, he also works well to get secondaries that you may need to score. Depending on what secondaries you score for the turn, if you need to flip an objective that was controlled by your opponent at the beginning of a phase, you can move into the next phases or whatever phase you need to be in. You still could do the command phase if your opponent controlled the objective at the end of their turn. And cause these things to battle shock, so then you can just walk onto an objective. You don't have to destroy anything, and you can focus damage elsewhere because you're still scoring the points and not wasting shots eliminating a softer target that you can take out, but you might have to put a little bit of effort into. Let's say like a bloat drone, for example, because of the recent matchup I had with Lane and his Death Guard, and that was a similar fashion. I don't want to take out the bloat drone. It's one bloat drone. It's not doing that much. The one thing it's doing is it's bringing OC3 to that objective, and it might be flipping an objective, which is the case. By battle shocking it, now I can do the damage elsewhere, focus everything elsewhere, and still be able to score those points that I need to score. Another big incentive of it is because of the fact that it's done at the beginning of any phase. And since it's not limited to if you advance or you don't, you can advance the Psychomancer closer to a unit. So your opponent drops a unit in via Deep Strike, and they do some damage, and then they're in their back pocket thinking, when you shoot at me, I can activate this stratagem, and I'll either nullify your shooting phase, nullify your big damage, or something that I'm going to do that I don't mind having this unit here. Reduce damage, whatever it may be. By advancing that Psychomancer and getting him within that 6 inches now you hit that squad at the beginning of your shooting phase. You haven't targeted them with attack, and make them battle shock at -2. So when they fail, so now they can't be targeted by any stratagems, and all the defense that they had planned for that turn going into that unit is gone, and you can just completely take out someone's very valuable unit, very expensive unit, much cheaper because you've shut the defenses down on it. So that Psychomancer, that battle shock ability, is something that can really mess with people. And because you can use it on the advance, because you can get that extra -1 by getting in 6 inches, it's very, very critical. Psychomancers are only 55 points. And there are some good options for different things that can score secondaries, but having at least OC1 is important. Psychomancers do a good job at 2 columns where it comes in with that to be the outside unit. Number one, because they're cryptex, if you bring scarabs nearby them, putting a 3-man squad of scarabs within proximity, the scarabs will now get that objective control value and can be something that you kind of put out in a more dangerous spot. So if they get destroyed, the Psychomancer is still protected. But they can then go out, they can do actions, and they can do other stuff because of the Psychomancer's existence. Very crucial for things like that, to be able to have things on the secondary game, and the amount of points you're dedicating into it is under 100 points. So, and that could be the secondary objective getting units that you have that's under 100 points that consists of 2 separate units that work together so nicely as that. And the Psychomancer still being able to shoot to the middle to cause things to battle shock as he's moving across the board in whatever fashion he needs to. Still able to complete and do actions because, again, this isn't a shooting attack. He's not charging, not doing anything like that. So he can do an action for you if need be in those spots. Excellent thing to throw in strategic reserve, too. If your opponent's got some artillery and you're concerned that they could just pick off the Psychomancer, or if you want your opponent to spread out a bit and then bring them on after and use them to help play on secondaries, this is only 55 points you're putting in strategic reserve to react with. Doesn't hurt you as much for what you have on board. And even if you do have stuff in reserve, 55 points isn't bad for some wiggle room to be able to get that in there and still be legal for what you're keeping in strategic reserve. The biggest downfall with the Psychomancer is the fact that it is a character. In the Necron army, there are a couple different styles to play, but it does start getting tough on us for how many characters we're bringing. And this can lead into points where assassinate is something your opponent may take if they feel they have access to another secondary. One of the things that I felt, and this is kind of my answer to that of like, what do you do about assassinate plays? And this kind of brings it all together with the Psychomancer, with the last GT I did where I played the 19 character list. The one thing I found, and this is it's very controversial right now about the challenge cards. A lot of people do not like them. I am kind of mid with them. I feel like the question's a lot deeper because if we just pull out the challenger cards, I think the primary missions and way some of the secondaries function is not quite as good as it should be in some aspects of it. I do think getting a dead draw early and then trying to build into it, it can be tough. And the challenger card is supposed to kind of compensate for terrible draws to keep it balanced. But drawing it on turn 5, maybe that's one way to do it is you don't draw it on turn 5. That could be something I would think maybe that's a thing. Or if you go first, you can select the 2 secondaries you're doing. Granted, most people would do secure and engage because that's a very easy one, but maybe some type of limitation with that of like you get to or pick one, draw one, or something in that aspect would make those feels bad a little less. And that's where I kind of feel like they're trying to do with the challenger cards is balance that out where it's still random and you still don't know what you're going to be doing with your army and how you're going to win it, but it's not completely random in the sense of, wow, here are these secondaries I drew turn 1 that I can never score, while my opponent just drew secure no man's land and engage, and I can't catch up. You could be beating them into the ground, but you can't catch up because you're just drawing bad card after bad card in the wrong timings entirely. It's tough. It's because it's like, well, on one hand, that's the nature of competitive gaming, but on the other hand, it's a lot of randomization to have to get into that sometimes it's like, well, I played the best game I could. The cards just said no. And I think that's what they're trying to avoid is they don't want it to be the cards just said no. But when you put those challenger cards in there, now it's like, oh, okay, well, you did everything right and you're winning, and that means your opponent's getting these challenger cards. And then you at the end of the game, suddenly you get bad cards and just bummer out. And your opponent's able to go second, score a challenger card and win the game. And there's a lot of control over that, especially going second is super good. Right now, we are in a meta that challenger cards exist. Unless something changes, we can't do anything about that. That's how it is, and that's how we have to address it competitively. If my opponent takes Assassinate against me, they are going, and I have a bunch of characters. That means they are going to be able to score that secondary relatively quick and could have some very strong early turns. But that secondary is going to cap at 20. So every time they do that and they're scoring up, I'm going to be able to get challenger cards to catch up. And if I get one for all 4 turns of the game that you can get them for, that's 12 points from that 20 that are almost free. Those challenger cards are easy. So you're looking at 12 points right there. So now you're only really down 8. Your opponent has another secondary that's fixed that they have to try to score, and you can probably shut them down on that. Focus on that. Okay, you got 20 on Assassinate. Cool. I'm going to focus on making sure you can't cleanse or you're not going to be able to get full engage. Things like that to cause your opponent's score to dip there, and focusing on primaries. Again, Psychomancers are good for you to score those primaries. Score them, not stop them. So right now with the current game state and that sense of challenger cards being there, I think Assassinate's a trap. I'm welcoming someone to go ahead and take Assassinate because if you don't have a CP generation in your army, then you can't pitch cards to get command points to possibly tip the scales back in your favor. And I think that is a very, very critical thing that it's like you're taking away from the army if you go fixed, and you're an army that can't play fixed. So I'm okay with someone taking Assassinate, and for the factor of running how much power the Psychomancer brings that other times you don't normally see. Things like Wraiths that are super durable, or if you're doing Warriors and whatever it may be, can cover this model and hold these objectives so you can score those points. So to me, The Psychomancer is an auto include. 55 points, and this guy can win you games. If you're struggling with certain aspects of Necrons and certain aspects of being able to score and secondaries and even primaries, mostly primaries, I definitely recommend running a Psychomancer. I personally feel like it should be in every list. As I say this, the next list I'm running doesn't have them in there, but that's because it's a theme. So I don't think this next list I'm running is, my next list I'm running, I do not feel is competitive. But I'll tell you, if I was going that direction of competitive, the thing as I put it together, I was thinking was, man, I wish I could find 55 points just to put one Psychomancer in here, even though it's not competitive. So if I go and start working on this more and going into it, the Psychomancer will be there. He's that valuable. All right, guys, let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Have you run the Psychomancer? Do you like this guy? Have you used him a bit? And what are your feelings? What are some stories that you have about successful Psychomancer hits that have scored you big points? I'll comment down below if that starts to become a thing on mine, because mine happened recently. But either way, tell me what you guys think. All right, that's all for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.